Welcome into the best in paranormal programming. This is Darkness Radio. I'm your host, Tim Dennis. So it's our anniversary week, and I wanted to do something a little bit different on our anniversary week. You know, we spent anniversary weeks in the past maybe lauding ourselves a little bit, celebrating a little bit, bringing in people, doing the self-congratulation thing. I wanted to spend it a little bit differently. You know, we all have dreams, aspirations, and in those dreams, we want to try to manifest things. We want to manifest better situations for ourselves, obviously. But how do we do it? How do we connect? How do we get to that place where we make better lives for ourselves? I mean, we've all gone through the rigmarole. Maybe you've ordered programs. Maybe you've just tried. Maybe you've just sat there and said, universe, I want something better for myself. And maybe you become frustrated. Well, maybe we can get some help today. I have an amazing guest by the name of Machiel Klerk. I know I butchered his name. I'll get there today, I promise. He has a book out there called Dream Guidance, Connecting to the Soul Through Dream Incubation. And it's based on Jungian philosophy and Jungian psychology. And we're going to talk about that today. It's about harnessing the power of your unconscious through dream incubation, which is an age-old technique to access hidden wisdom and receive instruction through your dreams, which is very interesting. We're going to jump into that today and learn a little bit more about it. But first, let's talk and learn a little bit more about our guest, who is fascinating in himself. Machiel Klerk is a social entrepreneur, licensed mental health therapist, international speaker, dream worker, and published author. He's been a mental health therapist since 2006 and currently has an online private practice. Machiel is fascinated by healing traditions. He earned a master's degree in counseling psychology at Pacifica Graduate Institute. I'm going to try and get his name right. I know I'm butchering it. Machiel is fascinated by healing traditions. He earned a master's degree in counseling psychology at Pacifica Graduate Institute. Machiel has traveled all over the world and studied many cultures and their healing and dream traditions, and in specific, the African traditions, as South Africa is the country of his birth. Believe it or not, he's not the first South African we've had on the program. We've had other South Africans on our program as well, MJ Dixon being one of them, and Wayne Herschel being the other. Machiel has published a book called Dream Guidance. I just told you about that book with the respected Hay House Publishing Company. The book is currently available through Amazon, Barnes & Noble as I think it's well past the pre-order stage. You can get it currently. We have a link in the description of this program. Machiel has given lectures and workshops in Europe, South Africa, and North America about dreams and psychology. He also provides inspirational talks and workshops for companies on creativity, innovation, and leadership. He has written several articles on dreams and released a course on Young Platform. We have a link to that website, so you can take some of those courses and learn how to get deeper into harnessing the power of your dreams. Machiel has vocationally been guided by dreams when he founded the Young Society of Utah and the online organization Young Platform as a result of Nighttime Dream. In appreciation for those contributions, he has received several awards from the local community. Let's welcome him in right now to Darkness Radio, Machiel Klerk. I'm cringing. I'm sorry as I butcher your name.
No, you're doing really well, Tim. Thank you.
I'm trying. I told you before the show, it's a matter of respect. I know as far as in America, we tend to butcher names. So, and I know you've been in America for quite some time, but it's a matter of respect. And I try.
Well, I appreciate your effort, and because the sound is really different, you're 97% there. So don't worry about the other 3%.
Well, I'll throw caution to the wind for the rest of the talk here, the rest of the discussion, and we'll just go forward. And it is what it is from here on out. Let's talk a little bit about.
But let me congratulate you on the program and the birthday.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. It's been a long, strange but beautiful trip. I have to tell you, and it's as you know, it's only possible through the people that put the energy forward to listen to the program, which I'm grateful for that. I'm forever grateful and put that gratitude out there for the people who listen. So that's where it's first and foremost. So this has always been my dream. So
yes,
I live
well,
my
beautiful. And what comes to mind when you were talking about it is that in the old Roman tradition, so 2,000 years ago in Italy, in the Roman Empire, one would celebrate a birthday, and then one would not celebrate really the person, but the spirit in the person. So one would have a little one candle for the spirit that one thought that everyone comes into the world with a spirit, and that it's not so much we celebrate Tim, but we celebrate the spirit that comes into the world with Tim, and that has a certain quality and gift for the world. And I founded myself a company, the Young Platform, and I think sometimes in terms of a spirit or a creative entity. And I think this program or this show is also a spirit in its own that you serve.
yes.
And
Yeah.
it's just what you dance with, also whatever it wants. So
Right.
we'll congratulate the spirit itself as well, and for you being the host or the conduit of it.
That's perfect, and you described it perfectly. It is really, you're right. I kind of serve it, and it has a life of its own. It really does. It's one of those things where I kind of feed the spirit, and it takes a life of its own and drives its own. And I put the energy into it, and it takes a life of its own and drives itself. I want to start off, Machiel, with this today. I want to start from the scientific side of things, and then I want to move into the supernatural and kind of the esoteric side of dreams, because this is the part that I think a lot of people have a tough time with, and it's the not so much the skeptical side of it, but we've been very grounded as a society. We've been put in the here and now, the if we can't touch it, feel it, see it type scientific based side of it. We don't believe it, and really, I think that's a function of society. And we've been told that dreams are simply your brain downloading the activity of the day and trying to deal with it. That's just your brain trying to dump all that information that you've been given throughout the day, trying to clean it out and start anew for the next day. It just needs to process that information. And as much as we get fed that line, I find that at times it doesn't jive with me. It just, there's something about that just doesn't connect, because I've had some wonderful things happen in dreams that I can't explain. And I'm sure a lot of our listeners have as well. So if you can, for me, tell me why that rings true, why that is a true function of the brain, and why it isn't.
It's a great starting place. And indeed, the one of the functions of dreaming is to digest the experiences of the day. And so you can also see that in the dream, on a certain moment, the brain changes its chemistry, and we have less fear-based neurons firing. In that moment, painful experiences are being processed by the brain and find a place. So in a place where we don't have a lot of anxiety, we experience a lot of day-to-day emotions, and then they get selected by the brain, whether it remembers them or whether it just deletes them. But also because it's like almost visiting the nightly therapist, we just the brain will make sure that the more common painful experiences don't feel as painful the next day or the days after. Okay. Therefore, we often say sleep on it, and the brain has digested it, and we feel better or clearer about the situation. So that is just one of the functions that neuroscience shows that dreaming has. But it also has shown in neuroscience that if you wake people up in the dream state, that they're much more creative. So if you wake a person up while they're intensely dreaming and you give them a puzzle, they're much better at solving the puzzle than in the regular day-to-day conscious state.
Really? And why is that? Why has the creativity been opened up while they're in that dream state?
The brain makes different associations, looks at things a little bit less rigid, and is more open, and therefore is better able to find solutions.
Huh.
And you also see that actually many creative breakthroughs, both in science, in art, in political landscape, have taken place in dreaming. People have got beautiful songs, like Paul McCartney got the song Yesterday in his dream. Many artists report having inspiration through dreams. Gandhi, the famous Indian freedom fighter or freedom person, got his idea of the hunger strike in a dream. And also Otto Lohe, a German scientist, found a way for how electricity found a way for a problem that he had and earned a Nobel Prize from it. So in our dreams, we also solve problems. And so it's not only a digesting of the day, but it's also an anticipation of the future. So it's not just regressive, it's also progressive. It tries to solve problems that we have and comes up with solutions that, or book outlines or songs that are good for us and often the community around us.
Now, you mentioned McCartney getting that song and different ideas. I know Jung believed in a group consciousness.
Yes.
Do you believe that group consciousness is where we're picking some of those ideas from? Or do you believe in the individual consciousness and in creativity and being able to come up with those ideas ourselves? Do you believe in that individual process, or do you believe that we do pick some of that from either from a divine intervention or from a group collective?
Well, I think that we're interconnected to something larger than ourselves, almost like we're waves on an ocean, and the wave is deeply connected to the ocean. And so somewhere in the intelligence of the ocean is something that's interesting or helpful for this particular wave. And when the wave is well attuned, it will pick up that information out of the ocean. So I don't really think that we're individual beings. I think we're just collective phenomenon condensed into a perceived singular state.
Interesting. Okay. But in there, we do have these individual talents. I mean, obviously you have individual talents I don't. And I may have some individual talents that someone listening to this program may not have.
Yes.
Is it those individual talents that we bring to the collective that allow others maybe to, I guess for lack of a better term, siphon those and use those so that we can as a collective become stronger?
Yeah, the collective, let's say that the collective flows through each of us in its own specific way. So everyone, like in this Roman tradition we just talked about, is the notion that it's thought that everyone comes into the world with a unique talent, a unique gift that is supposed to be delivered to their surrounding, their community. It can be their family or the larger community. And some people have a talent for cooking a meal, others funny, another person can do mathematics, another person fixes cars. So, and that all creates together a beautiful mosaic of talents that form a functioning whole. And so the better everyone is connected to their own spirit, the better the community on Earth functions.
Do you believe that these gifts can be downloaded even before birth to the individual through the collective, and that it's almost like it's pre-learned. Like, let's say, like before I was born, I got the bug, so to speak, to sit behind a microphone and want to speak to people and learn about them and put out information about them. And so it was almost predestined. Like I needed to do this. Would that be a good example of something like that?
It's a great way of imagining that. Yes, it's the notion that before you came to Earth, you would select what is necessary for you to grow, to develop consciousness, which themes to live out, including which gift to bring to the world. And that gift would be a given, and you would have the talent of being a soccer player or not. You can drum or not. You can interview people or not. And sure, you have to work on it. Mm-hmm. But if you don't came into the world with the gift of singing, you're never going to be a really good singer. You can sing, and people are also usually most fulfilled when they're connected to their own spirit, their own unique gift. So
right.
Do what you love, because that is actually what you're supposed to be doing.
I know there's a disconnect sometimes too in this world of trying to choose between what it is we love and then real life, and that is trying to chase the almighty dollar or chasing money in order to live. I mean, let's face it, we all have to get by in life. Yeah. And that's where the separation of happiness and spirit, I guess, where they soon part. Is that where dreams come in handy, or where dreams can help us? Is that safe to assume?
Yeah, and we could imagine that this spirit lives, its permanent residence is in the world of dream. So the dream is not just a movie we watch at night, or a letter that you get from mystery source X that you need to decipher. A dream is a world. You go back to any dream, you will notice, oh yeah, I was somewhere and there was a monster, and that monster was chasing me, and then I run. And you take that world for real when you're in it. You don't think, oh, this is the dream world, or like now we take this world for real. So in this dream world, we encounter actually our talent, usually in an embodied form. And if we pay attention to our dreams, we can start seeing what our dream figures are doing. And some will show our shadow, like they sleep in, or they drink too much, or they fight too much, or they're overly jealous. But others seem to embody a talent. You might, if you hadn't figured it out, you might start dreaming about someone that's really a great radio host.
Okay.
And then and it might take on the form of a real figure, because your talent might just dress itself up as someone you know, so you recognize it.
Okay.
Let's say I like soccer. If I was a soccer player, I might dream about Messi.
Sure.
Then my talent just takes on the form and shape of Messi to point me to where what my direction is in life. And it doesn't mean I'm as good as Messi, but it just shows me, oh, you have a talent for soccer, go that direction. Or you have a talent for cooking, go that direction.
That seems really highly enlightened, and it seems like you're very in touch with your dreams if someone is coming forward and pointing you in a direction. You actually said something that rings really true with me, and I want to bring up something personal here, and I've said it on the show before. I had a period where for over 2 years, every single night, I was getting beat up in my dreams by some sort of monster character, like you were saying. Mm-hmm. And beat up to the point where I was on the brink of death, like just pummeled. And it would happen in any different scenario. It could happen in a city. It could happen in sewers. It was almost like a video game. Okay, so I would meet a monster. Boom, boom, boom. We're going at it toe to toe. It could be any type of form of monster or character or whatever. And this thing would attack me first. So, and it would chase me. So I would have to make a choice. I could stand and fight, or I could run, one or the other.
Yeah.
So I'm fighting all night long in my dream. And although I can, it's almost like a 2-camera system where you can look and see yourself. I can't feel the injuries, but I know I'm getting, I'm getting it kicked out of me, so to speak. Right.
Yeah.
So I see myself getting it kicked out of me, but I know I got to keep fighting. So I'm going toe to toe, toe to toe, toe to toe. And as I'm getting closer to waking up, I know that this is it, that this thing is getting its last licks in. And just before it's about to deliver the last blow, boom, I wake up. Right. Every year for 2 years. It could happen in a boxing ring, a wrestling ring, in a city sewer, like this. And then mysteriously, one night I go to sleep, it doesn't happen again. And I don't know where that disconnect was. So can you tell me, good sir, where or what might have happened in life that, and I know dream interpretation, sometimes we take it literally, and this is a dream interpretation question. Is it something that I worked out in my own life in this world, or was it something that I might have worked out in that dreamscape where I just said, you know what, I can stop fighting?
Yes, both is possible. You can solve those issues in dreaming or in the day-to-day life. Somehow you found a solution to this incessant beating up that was happening. And so if you still can remember, is there anything during the day where there was a moment that it was like, oh, I'm gonna do this different, or you made a shift? It's clear that you made a shift. And for anyone that listens, repeating dreams are very important, because we, the human, the ego, hasn't picked up on a certain message that the dream tries to give us. So the dream keeps on repeating till we get it. And usually what could have worked, but it's you've already solved the problem, is that but for people that are listening, if you are being chased by a monster in day-to-day life, you can I would then suggest write out a dream and then continue in that state, and a bit in the dream state, continue to see the monster and maybe turn towards the monster and ask a question. Why are you beating me up? What brings you here? Is there anything you want to tell me? And then you just see if a thought comes to you. Usually it talks back in the form of a thought, or you get a sense, or it says, well, Tim, I wanted to tell you that you, whatever it wants to tell you, and then you think about it.
Okay.
That's a way for people to engage with these repeating dreams. But in your case, it could be a day-to-day experience, and it could also be in the dream time that you somehow decided not to fight, or you got it, or you told the figure, now it's enough, and it can stop. But we can talk more about it. But if you become lucid, that's aware in the dream state, you can just literally turn towards the monster and say, what do you do? What's going on here?
In a situation like that, I know there are a lot of specialists that recommend dream journaling. Is dream journaling a strong thing with you, where you want someone to keep a dream journal?
I have to. Like everyone else, at night your short-term memory doesn't function well. That's why we forget actually that we're 6, 7, 8 hours in bed asleep. And if you don't write it down when you wake up, it hasn't really stored in your memory, and so it evaporates within minutes or half an hour or an hour later. The details are gone. So yeah, I have a dream journal, and I have probably between 3 and 5 dreams per week, and I don't remember them every night, but that's essential for working with your dreams. But even just working on writing them down has a positive effect. You don't need to be good at interpreting. Just writing them down shows somewhat to your own soul or your own being, I'm interested. And then you will see that you will have more dreams that provide you with a solution, where more helpful characters show up, or you meet a deceased ancestor. You'll just get connected that way to the other world. Your intuition goes up. You have more synchronistic events just by that engagement with your dream.
I think that's a good place for us to take a break. When we come back, I wanted to talk about beginning to become more interactive with your dreams. You've mentioned characters, connecting with ancestors. I want to get into more lucid dreaming. And I also want to talk about spirit guides and other things that to a lot of people seem like they're almost pie in the sky. Like, I think a lot of people think they're grounded in quote unquote reality or grounded in this world. And it's hard for them to imagine getting to that next level. So we'll talk about how they can start to get to that next level when we come back from break. The book is Dream Guidance, Connecting to the Soul Through Dream Incubation. Our guest is Machiel Klerk, and we will be talking in the next segment about how we can connect to our ancestors, how we connect through lucid dreaming, and how we can start to manifest some things in this world through our dreams. That's coming up next on The Best in Paranormal Programming. This is Darkness Radio. Welcome back to The Best in Paranormal Programming. This is Darkness Radio. I'm your host, Tim Dennis. Our guest is Machiel Klerk. The book is Dream Guidance, Connecting to the Soul Through Dream Incubation. When we left you last, we were talking about how it is we get from being grounded to this world and how we start to manifest things through our dreams in the next. Machiel, in the last segment, we were talking a little bit about things chasing us in our dreams. Now let's start talking about how we chase things through our dreams. One of the things that interested me as I was doing some research on you was how you were talking about, you mentioned characters and characters showing up in our dreams. And you in the last segment, you started to talk about different characters showing up in your dreams. And one of the things you had mentioned is in one of your own experiences, one of your favorite soccer players coming forward and guiding you and making decisions. Like when you have to go and make a certain decision, you would consciously think before bed or ask before bed, how do I go about making this decision? It may be something simple, like maybe you're not happy in a relationship. Okay. So how do I go about, making Beth happier? Or maybe she's unhappy with the relationship. How do I go about patching things up with Beth? We'll put it that way. And knowing that you want to make the relationship stronger. So you ask that question. You put it out into the universe and you want that question answered in your dream. And then going to sleep and then having it answered by one of these characters, as you put it. Now, is this character a spirit guide? Who is this character that you're talking about in the dream?
Yeah. Well, let's start with the intriguing sense that everyone that listens can practice tonight. That is, you can ask your dream a question before you go to bed.
Okay.
That's called dream incubation, just as you mentioned. And I love that question as, how can I improve my relationship? Even if it's good, you can ask it. If it's not there, and if you're not in a relationship, you could ask tonight, what is one thing I can do to love myself more deeply? and then you go through you write down the question that's really important. Do a little set of rituals, maybe light a candle, sing a song, do a dance, make a drawing, spend some time that communicates to the world of dream and the larger awareness that's behind it, that you're interested. And that because it picks up on your heartfelt intention. And then you go to bed and then you sleep and then you will get a response. There's a very old technique called dream incubation, comes back in any culture around the world. Even Harvard has done a study on it and noticed that it works. And it works really well if you ask a health question or a question that's relevant to your heart. And so then the second question that you asked is to whom do you address this question? And of course, there's some sense of a mystery. Some people would say God, another would say the larger awareness. You could even, if you don't believe in any of that, say a brain. It will work. I believe there's some form of a larger awareness that somehow knows, is interested in helping and educating, and is supportive to us when we ask it for help. It's almost like it helps a little bit in general, but when you reach out, it helps more. And so that answers. But then in the dream, you sometimes find also helpful figures, spirit guides, or other figures that have a guiding function and that you also can interact with. When you become lucid, that is when you become aware in the dream that you're dreaming, or just before you go to bed and say, spirit guide, what would you like to do? And then see what it is that your spirit guide would like to do. And that could be a really great question if you want to develop your talent further.
Now, we have to be a little careful as to what we ask, because it seems like people want to hit the home run right at the first question. I mean, obviously, you're not going to sit down and say, well, what are the winning numbers for tomorrow's Powerball, or how do I become ultra rich? You're not going to get that solved in one dream, correct?
No, and it's indeed it's great observation that a lot hinges on asking good questions. If you look at mythologies or fairy tales, not as just more as wisdom stories about how psychological spiritual development happens, very often in a myth or a fairy tale, the development of consciousness hinges on asking the right question. And with this too, if you want to be rich, the more interesting question is, how can I bring my talent into the world and serve a lot of people and earn a living with it? Because then you align yourself with your talent that wants to express itself anyway, and then you earn your money through your talent. And real sense of abundance lies in being connected with your talent. That brings fulfillment. And of course we need dollars and coins to live, but that very often comes once you do, as a result of being connected to your talent. And you need significantly less if you really enjoy your work. If you don't enjoy your work, you need a lot of money. If you enjoy your work, you get by with you need money, but you get by with less.
So is it fair to say that the correct question is, how do I achieve enough to be happy?
I wouldn't. I would depends what you want to ask there. With how do I achieve enough? I would come closer to a question as, how can I bring my gift better to the world?
Okay.
Or if you have a business, how can I serve more people that would benefit from my service? And then your dream will think along and think, yeah, this service that you have to give, your gift, we would love it to bring to the people that would benefit from it. And so then you will get an helpful dream.
Because in the end, and I think we don't think about this enough, money is really just a side benefit of the true, what's a good way I want to put this? Money is a side benefit of success. So if you're successful at putting your product out there and people, or reaching as many people as you can with your product or your service, then the money follows.
I would to make it to include also happiness, because that is true. But you can sell a lot of products that you don't really believe in or that you don't really feel good about.
Right.
But if you make the best apple pie you can,
Mm-hmm.
and then you want to sell apple pies, then make the best apple pie you can, and then figure out, how do I get this apple pie to the people that would love it? Then you do something that you enjoy, and you bring it into the world, and it will also align your own spirit. Your own spirit might be a baker, and so the baker spirit wants to manifest itself, and so it starts working on your behalf. You will get synchronistic events, these coincidental, helpful moments in life. You meet the right people. All that starts getting, the magic starts getting activated when you align with your own spirit.
Okay.
And that makes life so much better. And that will translate in usually money coming back. Sometimes a lot, sometimes okay, almost always enough for you to live. Not always, I recognize that as well. But
so money is really energy, but only a small part of that energy that's coming back. The main part of the energy is the happiness that is passed between people with the service that you're providing, and the happiness that they're sending back to you in appreciation for your product.
Yeah, and just like the soccer player really likes to play soccer,
Mm-hmm.
and or the basketball player, people know, even if whether they had a big talent or not such a big talent, when they played basketball and that's what they loved, they start losing a sense of time. They got in the flow, and if you can get a sense of being in the flow and that you lose a sense of time, that is a certain form of happiness that comes from being aligned with your spirit. And if you can get paid for doing that, you'll be fulfilled, and you have the money to buy and sustain daily life. And then you're best off. And sure, some talents are higher rewarded than others in our society.
Yeah.
But general happiness lies in a combination of having enough money, but also being aligned with your own talent.
Is it a matter of, when it comes to money, is it just a matter of personal preference of how much you've raked in, or does the universe, God, whatever it is, do they not care? Do they not care what the dollar amount is on this deal? Is it truly just a personal barometer of what it is that determines what's satisfactory as far as how much income we have coming in?
No, it looks like the larger awareness is very non-judgmental and doesn't measure or judge in that way, and so you could make a really delicious cake, and 10 people could buy it, 100 people could buy it, but you had just fun in making that cake, and that is so that's the central part. And some talents just get rewarded more than others. This day and age, as a nurse, you don't get as much as if you're really good at basketball or some forms of finance.
Mm-hmm.
And that is not necessarily more intrinsic worth, but we as a society have value that more. But there's a sense between what something, your own sense of self-worth and your financial value, or your self-value and your financial worth. They're not the same.
Right.
But if you don't have self-worth, you try to get financial value. The
I see.
moment that your self-worth is really well, there comes a limit to, I'm not going to work more because I'm satisfied with my job. I like to spend time with friends. I want to have a good dinner.
Mm-hmm.
But if your worth is not so good, it's like, oh, I need more, because then I think I'm something, and other people think I'm something, and so you get caught in a rat race that is actually detrimental to yourself.
Yeah, I get it there. I get what you're saying, that it seems like the least fulfilled you are, the more you want to fill it with material goods. I get that part. But there are some people who are pretty fulfilled that would like to fill it with a little bit more, because there is such a thing, Machiel, as wanting to take those material goods or that money and wanting to put it back into communities. The philanthropic spirit is there as well. And I think there are some people that would love to take and get some of that reward and spread it out and put it out there into the universe, but are unable to do that. What do you say to somebody who says, you know what, I want to dream it into existence to get some of that so I can spread it out to the universe? How do you put that into a dream?
Yeah, also tell that to your dream up front. I would like to grow my business, bring my service to more people, and as a sign of appreciation, I want to spend 10% of what I will earn. I will give back to people, so that the spirit knows about it. And in many traditions, it was also a good custom when you got a helpful dream that you gave a little token of appreciation back to the dreaming spirit. In the Greek tradition, it was called Asclepius, and Asclepius would very often heal. And Asclepius didn't mind so much how big your gift was, but that you showed some appreciation.
Interesting.
And so it is helpful if you ask generous questions.
Okay.
You just don't ask it just on behalf of yourself, but how can I serve others? How can I do this and give back? That will enhance the likelihood of a good answer.
Understand, I'm asking you very simple questions because I want them to break through that material part of asking questions, or maybe asking the wrong questions when they sit down to do this at night. Because a lot of people, I think, are asking the wrong questions. You know, they'll sit down and it's like sitting down in front of Santa Claus when they go to do this. It's, you know, I want a new car. I want a full bank account. I want to be able to pay the kids' education. And then they go to sleep and they go, well, that didn't work. And then they're off to living their life again. And they think it's a wish list when they sit down to go to sleep.
Yeah, that's a very good point. It's not that you consult with Santa Claus. You consult with maybe before you came to this world and you selected your themes you needed to live out and your gift, and there was some counselor there helping you. You connect with that counselor, the old wise man or woman within, that's going to help you live the life that you're meant to live. And so if you ask, how do I get a bigger car? This counselor might think, you've maybe forgotten that we had this agreement. I will help you, but I will help you live your life. Mm-hmm. And your life would be nice with a car, but it's really about dealing with the jealousy that you currently have, and or the envy you have, or figure this blind spot out, or learn how to speak up better, because those are the themes of your life. So the things that has to do with your life journey, that is where the dream will really help you. and ask questions that are relevant to your life journey, even if it is something like, what's the best next step in my life? I don't know what to do. I'm stuck. I don't know, not even what my theme is. What is the next step that you, counselor, suggest that I do?
And that sounds like a perfect place for somebody to start tonight. It is to, light that candle or write something down or do whatever it is they need to do. Close your eyes. And before you close your eyes, say, what is the next step I need to take in my life?
Beautiful. Yes.
That's a great.
And then write down the dream in the morning. Because what I've seen is half the dreams make sense really quickly, and the other half, people say, "Oh, this has nothing to do with my question. It doesn't make sense." Maybe put it aside. Look at it in the afternoon again. Read the dream to a trusted friend, because they will come with, "Oh, but that makes sense for your life. That you would do X, Y, or Z, or that you do this or that." Because probably your own psyche has already tried to inform you, but you haven't picked up on it. So
Okay.
maybe you don't pick up on it yet, but a friend or a partner or someone will be able to help you. Or fresh eyes in the afternoon.
It may not, so you're saying it may not be as easy as a character will come forward or a spirit guide will come forward and just give you the answer. It may be a bizarre dream, and you may have to sit down and pick up some of the clues and put it together.
Yes, and if also the notion is that just like the rose seed becomes a rose and the acorn becomes an oak, the human comes into the world with this set of karma or talents or complexes that realize itself into a unique human individual, and it wants to be itself. The rose seed is not at once thinking, now I'm going to be a sunflower. It's going to be itself. And so life is conspiring on our behalf to realize its own potential. So it will bring forth the life situations that we need, not what we want, but that we need at that moment. By our engagement with them, we learn something that helps us grow our consciousness and hopefully solve the problem to a certain extent, and then we go to the next problem. So it's not only that we will have the dream, but if you really take it serious, like, oh, I got a dream, I write it down, I talk to someone, also you will start noticing, oh, I didn't know this, but now I opened the book on the right page. Oh, on the television, I just watched the right program that gave me another angle. And so life is conspiring to help you get the answer, but it needs your participation and it needs your puzzling and it needs your engagement. It's not just a wish-fulfilling genie. That would be great, but I think we all know it's not.
Right, right. Yeah, I think that's the other thing we forget too is that things don't just drop in our lap. We have to hustle for it. That's for sure. I want to move forward a little bit here, Machiel. I want to talk a little bit about connecting. You've mentioned about connecting with ancestors. I think we can kind of tie this a little bit in with dream visitations. I think it has different. I think we're talking one and the same, but we may be talking a little bit different depending on different cultures. I myself have had dream visitations from different past relatives. I know in your culture in South Africa it may be a little bit different, but tell me what you mean when you're talking about connecting with ancestors and what that entails.
Yeah, in general, in the African culture, and then I'm talk more about the indigenous culture, they refer to ancestors as anyone that has died. So it could be even an ancestor could be your own child, or it could be anyone that is not blood related. And they also include in it beings that maybe have never been on Earth, like a spirit guide or a spirit animal. So that's what in this tradition is called as an ancestor. But to bring it back a little bit more to our tradition, our Western tradition, I refer really to the visitation of grandpa or in my case, my father died, and he has been sporadic visits me in a dream. And probably a lot of your listeners have had somewhere in their life that they had a dream. They thought, I think it was grandma. That felt like grandma, or that felt like my wife, or and and very often in those dreams there's a, a, a particular quality to the dream. I don't know how it was for you, but a quality to the dream that makes you think, oh, this was really dad, or this was really grandpa.
Yeah, the lucidity of the dream is beyond just it feeling somewhat real,
Yeah,
down to smells, down to almost touch. Everything feels like you're in the moment, and almost like they're in the room with you. They seem so few and far between, but can those, I guess the question here is, can we trigger those dreams? Can we much like we sit down and at night want to communicate through our dreams and want different questions answered for our lives? Can we sit down and ask dad to come forward, or ask grandparents to come forward, or ask our ancestors to come forward and have conversations with us, or even maybe answer certain questions for us?
yeah. What I've seen, I've tested this a lot, and I've seen that people sometimes would say, "No, dad or mom, can you come forward?" And that it happened. But more often than not, that appears not to be the right question. If you wanna, but you can ask them directly a question, like, "Dad, how is it going on the other end for you?" Or, "Dad, is there anything you want to tell me?" And then you get a dream in which dad will show you what he wants to tell you. That has a very high probability of working. And and if you pay attention to your dreams, you will see that they visit you. But in sometimes they don't visit people for a year or 2 years, and then they're there. So, uh, but you can ask them directly a question on, or if you need to work something out. Gosh, I'm so sorry I didn't say goodbye, or that it was too late. And then you tell them that, and then you see what the dream responds.
It seems like it's a matter of need and not a matter of want. We have a lot of listeners that say, I really miss them so much. I really just want them to come forward. If that want is out there, that's nice. But if it's a matter of need, they'll come forward. If there's a need for closure, sure, they'll be there. But if it's want, and if it's just good old fashioned, I miss you so much, my heart is breaking, well, you know what? There's probably a need for you to have closure. Because is there such a thing as closure on the other side?
No, I think that the other side is literally here. So they're around from time to time. So they can see us much easier than we can see them, and so the relationship remains intact. And but of course, so there's never a real closure, but there's a closure of their existence on Earth. I cannot talk to my dad in the same way, or go to dinner with him in the same way I could. So that there we need to find closure, and we need to deal with the heartbreak. But on another end, the relationship is still there, and but in a significantly different form.
If What can we do to close that anxiety? Is it okay just to have that one lucid dream and say that's good enough? Why is it that the lucid dream sometimes creates a thirst to want to have more?
Well, I think any experience that is really enjoyable, you would love to have more of. And so, if you have a lucid dream in which you meet dad, it's great, and you could extend the invitation. I would love to see you again, Dad. And if you please come by when it's possible. And then it's okay to enjoy it if they come, but you also have to come to a certain place of peace that they're not in this reality and that you might or might not literally see them, but you can still talk to them. You can still tell them things. You can use this tool easier. Dad, is there anything you want to say? Hey, Dad, I want to tell you these things. What happened in my day? And very often, what looks like the case is that we continue to have also problems that they had as well. Some problems seems to be generational problems,
Mm-hmm.
and they haven't totally worked out their problem either. So they're looking over our shoulder of, oh, how is Machiel dealing with speaking up or being authentic or jealousy? And then they might whisper in our ear an intuition on how we can deal with it. So they're collaborating on our problems that are at the same time their problems, and so we can have in that way also a form of a relationship.
Very interesting indeed. So there's dream work in trying to get a hold of our relatives, our ancestors there, but then there's also talk in the book of how to engage your own soul. What is this about? How do we engage ourselves in our dreams?
Yeah, it is the notion that very close to that part of our soul is our gift, is our challenges, our woundings that we seem to be born with, and it's a part of ourselves that wants to, just like the soul of the rose is in that rose seed that wants to be itself,
Mm-hmm.
and there's something in us that wants to become itself, and we can engage with that phenomenon that wants to become itself in us, through us. And yeah, I kind of call it the soul, but you could call it your own daimon in Greek, or the genius in the Roman tradition. And you can ask it the question again. You go to bed, you say, soul, tell me something you want me to know, and then see what happens.
Is this the thing where you have someone who, let's say, when they were younger, went through extreme abuse, or you have someone who maybe was in a war and suffers through PTSD? Is this something where through dream work they could get over past trauma?
Yeah, what they've noticed, what they've research showed that people coming back from the war with extensive PTSD, also flashbacks in daily life, would also have those in the dreams, of course, recurring nightmares.
Mm-hmm.
And by just writing down the nightmare or the dreams, these PTSD effects started to lessen. So somehow instead of being really afraid, which is a natural response, oh, I don't want this dream, is to show interest for your own wounding. That is almost like you have a literal wound on your arm and you clean it with some water,
Yeah.
and then the wounds start healing. You don't have to do that. But the engagement and the nurturing and the tending to the wound triggers healing, but also emotionally and psychologically. So by writing down your dream and saying, even if you have to force yourself, oh, that's interesting that I dream about a red-eyed monster, and then just write it down, and the next time again, and then maybe write a little bit back to the monster, because you're scaring me. If there's something going on, let me know. Or you saw this bomb explosion and it's just looping. Then don't focus on the core element, but maybe you see a tree in the dream. And then you make a drawing of the tree. And then you start seeing that the psyche itself start digesting that event. Of course, it's more helpful if you work with a person and on it, but you can do some work on trauma yourself by writing down your dreams and talking to some of the dream figures while you write, and then things start, the imagination starts moving again, and it moves to self-healing.
Interesting. You brought up an interesting, you drew an interesting line there where you're talking about physical wounds. As listeners to this program know, I've had a lot of physical trauma. I've had broken discs in my neck and back, and I have a condition called Charcot foot where my leg bones have gone through my ankle and my foot, and things like that. A lot of just kind of gruesome physical trauma. So what you learn as a patient of that physical trauma is that it seems like the more grotesque things that happen to your body, the more you become mentally jaded almost. But I used to think it was mentally jaded, but you put it in a brilliant way. It's when you start to see things like on the bottom of my Charcot foot, I'll get an open or ulcerated wound. And when you have to clean out your own ulcerated wound, I don't know, Machiel, if you've ever had to see an ulcerated wound, a wound that's this big. I'm showing you on camera, but people don't know. I'm holding up something that's literally golf ball size. But if you've ever seen a golf ball sized wound in your own skin, it's grotesque, right? But after you've seen something like that, time and time again, something that's quarter size or dime sized in your own skin, it would turn most people's stomachs. But when you see that in your own reality, you go, oh, it's not as bad as it used to be. You begin to know that oh, I'm going to live through that. Not only am I going to live through that, but the body's a wonderful machine and it's going to heal through it. I just need to take care of it. And now I know what I need to do in order to heal it back to perfect health. So you become more of, for lack of a better term, you become more of an adult about it.
Well, I think you point out a couple of really important things. That is where in most traditions, people were initiated in becoming a man. And in these initiation rituals, they would go through severe challenges, woundings. There would be cuts. They would have to do things, and they would learn that they would get through difficult situations. And if you had, if you knew that you would get through the trauma and how to do it, it makes it much easier, because then you know, oh, I should not run away from the trauma. I should just like, oh, I don't want to touch that ulcer. Oh, I'm not going to look at it. Well, that's not going to help the situation.
Right.
That's a very normal response, but actually the response is turning towards, tending to it, and then something in the own body or in the own psyche starts healing itself. We don't need to do that. We just need to clean it, cleanse it, tend to it. And it's the same with trauma. We can turn towards it, become more relaxed, don't focus on the actual thing, but on the side thing. Then we work through it. And if you've done that once, you can either help other people, but if you have another trauma, you will be like, oh, this is really painful, but I know how to deal with that.
Yeah.
And it gives the confidence to do it a second or a third time, or just to deal with suffering in general in life, because you know how to suffer.
Right. Yeah. And and you're right. You brought up something very key there, and that is once you've suffered or you've gone through that suffering, you then know how to go to others and say, you know what, this is how you get through it. You know, yes. It's not as bad as you think, and you can get through it too. It's gonna hurt. It's gonna hurt. I'm not gonna lie. It's gonna hurt, and it's gonna hurt bad. But you can get through it, and that's what I think is key. So I guess what I'm wondering is after a time when we reach out to kind of wrap up the talk about getting a hold of your ancestors in your dreams, is there a need after a while to connect to ancestors in dreams, or will they naturally stop coming through, or will they continue to come through? Because do we necessarily need our ancestors throughout our lives? Do we ever stop needing to learn from them, or do we need to continue to learn throughout our lives from them?
Well, it's probably a little bit depends a little bit on the person, but I think many of us just if the relationship was good with mom, dad, grandpa, it is nice to continue to have some sense on have a little picture in the house, say hi to them, think about them at their birthday, and if they are really on the other side and they notice that and they know, oh, Tim thought about me. Mm-hmm. You can feel how they love it and they look out a little bit more for you because there's a relationship. Mm-hmm. So to nurture a sense of relationship and have a community with the invisible realm just adds to life and the joy of life. And I think that sometimes we need to learn more from certain ancestors than other ancestors. Certain ancestors have more similar problems or talents than as we have, so they might be more relevant. That's probably a little person dependent.
Does it necessarily mean anything if we don't see a particular ancestor come forward in a dream? I know a lot of people tend to be, I don't want to say offended, but they tend to be a little hurt, a little bent out of shape if one of their ancestors hasn't come through in a dream visitation, or even if someone hasn't had a dream visitation. Should they be alarmed?
No, not at all. And if they want to rekindle that relationship, or they miss them, just ask the question, do you have a message for me? Because too often we want to see them as if that means something, and then after the fact sometimes people even doubt, was this really them? But if you ask a question which is much easier for them to answer, what do you have anything to tell me? They might give you a dream that gives you some information that's relevant, and then you have a relationship that way.
Okay. Well, the book is out and available, and we have a link to it in the description of this program. It's called Dream Guidance, Connecting to the Soul Through Dream Incubation. Machiel Klerk, I know I've butchered your name throughout the entire program, but I appreciate you being with us today on the show.
It was a delight, Tim. Once again, congratulations on your program, and wish you and your show many more fulfilling years.
Well, thank you so much, my friend, and great success with the book and great success down the road with your programs. Want to thank our guest today, Machiel Klerk, for being on the program. The book is Dream Guidance, Connecting to the Soul Through Dream Incubation. We have a link in the description of this program. Go get it. And again, manifest through your dreams, but be specific in order to get what it is you want in this lifetime. By the way, spoiler alert, it's not getting rich. I love that it's not that. It's actually getting your life goals through manifesting in your dreams. So there you go. Happy anniversary to Darkness Radio. Again, I want to thank everyone who's been involved in Darkness Radio in a successful 18 years. We're in season 19 now, and I'm looking forward to a very fun, very exciting year here in season 19. Got some good stuff coming up this year. Got a fun month ahead, that's for sure. Looking forward to bringing back some exciting guests in January. That's for sure. One particular guest you guys haven't heard from in a while. I managed to dig up out of the old guest list. I'm pretty proud of. You may be hearing him in February. So, looking ahead in the old calendar. I've got some surprises up my sleeve, put it that way. But looking forward to a fun and exciting year here on the show. You could tell I'm a little excited. again, I express my gratitude quite often on the show, but I do want to extend my gratitude because 18 years doesn't fly by just by chance or happenstance or luck or anything like that. It happens not through hard work either. It happens because people recognize what you do and they enjoy what you do, and they spend their hard-earned time listening to what it is you do. And you as an audience have taken your hard-earned time and your precious time to listen to what it is that we do here at Darkness Radio. And you've done so through 18 years, which is a very long time. That's a whole adult. Think about that. That was kind of blowing me away throughout the entire week. That's a whole adult. I've been overwhelmed all week thinking about how long it's been that the show's been in existence, and how fortunate and how grateful I've been that you, the listener, have allowed me to spend a great amount of time in my career, over half my career now, just a little over half my career, in broadcasting, doing this show. And that's not something I take lightly. In fact, I thank God every day that I have this show to do. I'm very fortunate to have this wonderful show to continue to do and continue to do for you. And I thank you, the listener, my friends, my family, that I can sit down and continue to produce this show for you. I truly do appreciate you for that. And I can't thank you enough for spending that hard-earned time in your life with me. I really do appreciate you guys for that. Love you guys for that. I want to continue to serve you guys as best as I can and come up with new and original material and make you guys laugh and continue to bring interesting topics to the table and continue to do the best job I can finding new and exciting things for you. I don't ever want to get stagnant. The day I get stagnant, I think it's time to walk away. I want to continue to have the inquisitive nature of a child, continue to have the sense of humor of a third grader, and continue to entertain you as best as I can. As long as I continue to do those three things, I think we're on good terms. And I want to continue to make sure that our co-hosts do the same thing. As long as we are all on the same page and understand that the mission statement of the show is not to try to be too over anybody's head, or that we don't come off grandiose, or that we're trying to be above anybody, I think we're all on the same page. The idea of the show when it first launched 18 years ago was that it was normal guys going out there, learning the paranormal, having a laugh, and learning something in the process. That's still the mission. It never changed. And in the process here in season 19, that's still the mission statement. It's friends getting together, learning about the paranormal, with an addendum that we're telling other people's stories. And we're learning about some true crime, too. We've thrown in a true crime twist. So we're learning about crime and the paranormal, and we're having a good laugh while we're doing it. We're enjoying life. Because after all, what's life if you can't enjoy it? I hope you're enjoying the show along with us. If you're not, I can't help that. I'm sorry. But if you're enjoying it with us, thank you. And we want you along for the ride, and we treasure you for being along on the ride with us. That's all. Happy anniversary to you as well, and happy birthday to you as well. That's all I can say. The weekend's upon us. Thank you so much for being a part of this whole journey with us. Be a light in the darkness to somebody this weekend, if you will. I know I will be. You know what I'm going to do this weekend? I got me a screener for this brand new Anthony Hopkins movie. I don't know if you've seen the trailer for it. I think it's called Freud's Last something or another. I'm going to review it this weekend, and I'm going to tell you about it next week. You know the one I'm talking about. I'm going to review that next week on the show because it has, well, first of all, it's got Anthony Hopkins in it. But second of all, he's wrestling between psychology in the here and now and God. You got to love that. I'll tell you about it next week. On top of that, we got lots of good stuff coming up next week. We got Ron Shepsuk coming back on Tuesday. We're talking Colombian drug lords, I believe. And much, much more next week on the program. So this weekend, be a light in the darkness for somebody. We're past the Christmas season, but people are still out there and they're freezing. They need coats, they need hats, they need your help. Go out there and help somebody this weekend. Be a light in someone's darkness. So that's it. We'll be back to entertain you next week. Thank you so much for being there for us. We'll see you next week right here on the best in true crime and paranormal programming. Thank you for being with us right here on Darkness Radio.